Honourable Member for Calgary Fish Creek.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's a pleasure to rise and speak actually against Bill 9, the Public Sector Pension Plan Amendment Act 2014. And I find this an interesting bill to stand up and discuss because as a health critic, I'm busy enough dealing with health issues, and I get, as I've told my colleagues, between 50 to 75 emails a day on health alone. And then all of a sudden up pops Bill 9, which has increased the emails that I have been receiving from people within my constituency, and actually people that have become very frustrated across the province from not getting responses from their MLAs when they contact their MLA's offices to discuss their concerns about the Public Sector Pension Plan Amendment Act 2014. And I guess as an MLA, I always feel that we have to be accountable to our constituents, and even if we agree to disagree, it's important that you at least call them back. And so we're logging on and documenting all of the calls that we're taking in from the province, especially from Calgary, that they're not hearing from their own MLAs in regards to this bill. And I just wanted to get some things on the record. I know we talk about in second reading of Bill 9 the intent of the bill. And it's quite interesting because it's a fairly large piece of bill. It's 49 pages, but I've just gotten a letter, actually, and it's a well-written letter that's about 7 pages, and it's called Letter to MLAs, and its signature is from Guy Smith, the President of the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees, Heather Smith, President, United Nurses of Alberta, Elizabeth Ballerman, the President of the Health Science Association of Alberta, Marley Roberts, President of the Canadian Union of Public Employees, and in brackets, the Alberta Division, and of course Gil McDowell, the President of the Alberta Federation of Labour. And it's dated April 15th, and they've asked some and talked about, as a member of the Alberta Legislative Assembly, we're about to embark upon a debate that has huge implications for the life savings and retirement security of 30,000 Albertans, because most of these people have spouses and dependents. Your decisions will actually affect at least 600,000 Albertans. And they talked about, to put that in perspective, about 1,290,000 Albertans voted in the last provincial elections. So the number of Albertans who have a personal stake in the outcome of your debate on changes to the Public Service Pension Plan Act is huge. And you know, when you get that in perspective, that's a lot of people that are going to be affected by a bill that's hit this floor. That's 49 pages. What I like about the letter is the fact that they've put some pointed questions out that I think probably in committee will be the minister's responsibility to answer, because I think it's important to refute questions that are put before the legislature. And in the time, in time, obviously, we don't have a lot of time to read all of this into the record, but the number one question, the first thing they said, you've been told by the minister that Alberta's public sector pensions are struggling under the weight of large and growing unfunded liabilities. Specifically, the minister says the unfunded liability for the 4 pension plans under review amounts to $7.4 billion. And then they go on to explain, and it's very interesting, and I'd just like to read this into the record, if I may. And it says, it's true that unfunded liabilities and pensions around the world grew in the wake of the global recession. But the unfunded liability in Alberta's pension plan is no longer $7.4 billion, and it's not growing, it's shrinking. So I think it's incumbent upon the minister to answer that question, because in my mind, it's a great question. According to a recent analysis conducted by the firm George & Bell, in brackets, a company which has been used by agency of the government, the unfunded liability in Alberta's 2 biggest pension plans, the LAPP.
Honourable Member, I just want to ask you if you have tabled that document. Have you?
I can't hear you. Just a sec. I've got to get wired up.
Have you tabled that document?
Yes, madam, I'd be pleased to table that document.
Thank you very much.
Can I continue?
Yeah, I think you have to go back a few sentences, though.
Sorry, just a minute.
You have to go back a couple sentences.
Sorry, that's why I have a service dog.
Yes, would you please just go back a few sentences?
Absolutely. Thank you. Sorry, Madam Speaker, I have to be wired up to hear you. I apologize. According to a recent analysis conducted by the independent actuarial firm George & Bell, and in brackets, a company which has been used by agencies of the government, close bracket, the unfunded liability of Alberta's two biggest pension plans, the LAPP and the PSPP, has shrunk by about $1 billion over the past year alone. George & Bell estimates that the unfunded liability will be gone entirely within 9 years. When unions pointed out that unfunded liabilities were shrinking, not growing, we were dismissed, even mocked by the minister. But just a few days ago, PC, MLA, and they say his name, and I believe it's the MLA from Red Deer South, admitted to the Assembly that the unfunded liability would be gone in 12 years. And then they use his name again, so I'll put Red Deer South. Comments were not a mistake. They reflect the projections of the boards themselves, and they can be confirmed by looking at their valuations report. We think that that Red Deer South's projections is too pessimistic, but at least he admits that the strategies to eliminate unfunded liabilities put in place years ago by pension boards are working. Clearly, the minister has not been entirely straight with you on the questions of unfunded liability. They then go in, and I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of time to read into the record this, and as you've asked, I will table it. They talk about the second one. You've been told by the minister that Alberta's public sector pension plans are unsustainable in the current form because people are living longer. And they go on quite eloquently, while its true lifespans are increasing, and the last time we checked, that was a good thing. The reality is that all of Alberta's pension plan boards have had strategies in place to deal with these trends, the same way they had strategies in place to pay down unfunded liabilities. In fact, actuaries and pension experts now agree that the impact of changing trends in longevity on the long-term health of pension plans will be much smaller than previously feared. The boards of both of Alberta's largest pension plans, the LAPP and the PSPP, are set to release detailed updates on the health of their plans in June. Both reports are likely to show that unfunded liabilities are shrinking and the risks are manageable. Why is the government in such a rush to pass legislation before this information is available? Could it be that they want the legislation passed before you, as an individual MLA, realize that the challenges being faced by pension plans are not nearly as serious as you've been led to believe? They go on again about number 3, and you know, I don't want to use all my time reading in this to the record, so I think it's important that you've asked for it to be tabled. This is actually addressed to all MLAs. So every single MLA in this legislature will be in receipt of this particular letter. It's dated April 15th, and I think it's important for them to read it. The third one is the minister has told you that the pension costs for public sector employers are too high and that these costs are rising. So then they go, and the letter is very well written, very, very well written, very articulate, and there's some serious questions that have to be answered in my mind to, it's a 7-page letter. That I think it's incumbent on each of us, every single MLA in this legislature, to have the finance minister answer these questions, because then it sets out for us how we're going to be able to vote on this bill. I can tell you that the conversations that I've had over the long weekend, including driving up for 3 hours on the phone hands-free, I'll say, is that, you know, I hear these poignant stories, and I believe it was the opposition, the NDP, that brought up the issues of the effects of these pensions of people who are planning their life, and if their pension is even deducted by, we'll say, $300, that's a lot of money when you're on a fixed income. And so I find that there's always two sides to every story. And on these sides, I think it's important when we're dealing with a significant bill to hear both sides of the story. And I think it's important and it's interesting to watch. Right now, we've been debating this bill for, I don't know, maybe an hour at this particular time, an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
And, Madam Speaker, it's been opposition, 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 and opposition again. And we have not heard from one single government MLA on this issue. Not one single government MLA. So maybe, just maybe, and I could be wrong, that it's, other than the finance minister, I'm sorry, and I mean, he introduced the bill, so and he gave his speaking notes, so he has colleagues all around him that can get up and speak in regards to this bill. I'm obviously imagine they're going to speak in support of this bill so that we can hear what they have to say. I can't imagine in a million years, that people are only calling the MLA for Calgary Fish Creek or the MLA for Medicine Hat, and none of the other MLAs, whether it's Calgary Cross or Strathmore Brooks, I know is hearing calls because we sit beside each other, and I think he said he's received 120 or 130. 130. That's a lot of people contacting an individual MLA. That's more than I got as the health critic. So wow, it's a lot of MLAs. I have always judged my political career, whether I have an issue or not, by the amount of calls that are coming into my office. And that always sets my spidey senses off when I start getting calls. And the people that I have talked to is not a one-issue sort of thing, like they're reading out of a songbook. They're very articulate. They have some good questions, some that I can't answer, some like what I've indicated earlier from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different union representatives, and they're representing obviously the employees that they represent in the individual unions, but it's the individual calls that are coming in, passionate, concerned. What are you doing to my pension? What are you doing to my family? That I think the questions that are not only articulated in the letter that I've started to read things into the record, which I will table, Madam Speaker, be my pleasure, need to be answered by the government. We know that this bill will pass. There's no question that this bill will be passed, and I expect at any time that we're going to have time allocations on it, and that would be my gut, maybe not. I could be wrong. We're here for another 2 days, and then we're on a break, and then we're back for another 2 weeks, and we don't control that agenda, so hopefully that we can continue to debate this. We continue to bring forward questions that we're hearing from constituents, and for that matter, Albertans, and the government, whether it's in second, I doubt if it'll be in second because we're talking about the intent, but in the committee, I'll make sure that the minister, the President of Treasury Board and Minister of Finance gets a copy of the letter, because I know as a former Minister of the Crown, the amount of mail that you do get as a minister, so I'll make sure that when we get one of the pages a copy, I will personally make sure that I send him over a copy of the letter so that he can read it, and hopefully we'll answer all of their questions, and more of the questions that you're going to hear probably in the debate in second about the intent of the bill, we'll answer them when we get to the committee stage, and thank you very much.